The anger began to build inside of him. And then it happened. He had had enough. He looked at his father dead square in the eyes, and the glow that radiated from his increased exponentially. The darkness that grew from him and consumed the entire corridor quickly shifted into a blistering white light. Undeterred by the radiance that was emanating from Sam's chest, his father continued to strike him. The vile man threw 2 more blows to Sam's face, and Sam would catch the third one before it connected. With his father's fist clenched in his hand, the boy god gritted his teeth. He squeezed on the lump of bone and flesh that was in his palm until it cracked and popped. His father's fist deformed in his grip like Play-Doh. Sam raised his other hand and slammed it into his father's throat. The blow alone was enough to destroy the man's trachea. But Sam wasn't satisfied with this. He squeezed and squeezed until blood began to dribble out of the man's mouth. His eyes bulged as though they were going to pop out of his head. Sam raised his shit stain of a father up off of the ground and quickly slammed him back down to the floor head first. Letting go of his neck, he drew back his hand and began to continually bash his father's face until there was nothing left but a lump of skin and obliterated broken bone swirling in a crater of busted stone. Sophia desperately hung on to consciousness as she watched Sam's violent outburst that left his father's head mixed with the dirt and pulverized stone on the floor of the maze. She wanted him to fight back against his parents. However, she had no idea that this is what it would look like. His mother released her grip on Sophia and charged at Sam like a ravenous dog. Overwhelmed by his anger, Sam bared his teeth. Using her own momentum as a weapon, he countered the charge and threw the beast of a woman into the wall that he had just freed himself from. The tremendous power of the throw sent her through the wall and into the next corridor. Sam casually followed her through, with shoulders held back and posture upright. As Sophia peeled herself off of the ground, she placed her hand around her own throat in a fruitless attempt to soothe the pain. Looking up, she saw Sam becoming more and more filled with the light that emanated from his chest. His glow was so bright that it was difficult to look at and caused her to squint her eyes. However, not every part of Sam was filled with that brilliant light. She began to see the same black slime form on his forearms and his hands that she saw from her last trip here. It coated his slender arms and dripped from his fingertips. As he passed through the hole in the maze wall, Sam reached out with his black, slimy hand and grabbed a very large chunk of stone from the wall. A few more steps, and he would tower over his mother as she began to scurry back in fear. Sam pinned her in place by putting his foot on her elbow to prevent her from moving anywhere. He raised his hand above his head and in one fell swoop, rammed the stone into her mouth so hard that it severed her head from her body. Sophia covered her mouth in horror as a slight gasp escaped from her lips. She knew that he was powerful, but she did not know this was going to be the outcome. Something had snapped inside of him, and whatever it was, he had been holding back tremendous amounts of anger and pain. These two disgusting people had tormented him long enough to create this monster that she saw in front of her. The light that was billowing from Sam became so bright that it blinded Sophia as it whited out everything in the maze. She covered her eyes as her ears became filled with the monstrous roar that was belched out from the deepest part of Sam's soul. When the roar stopped and the light finally died down, Sophia opened her eyes and realized that she too had been kicked out of the maze, but she was not in the real world. Instead, she was trapped in Sam's box.